Good morning, everyone. My name is Eleanor Chu from HALT Asia Enrollment Office in Hong Kong. As we always do before starting an event, please write in the chat box where you are listening to us from. Hello, Fadlan from Indonesia. Shunsuke is from Japan. Carl from Cebu, Philippines. Jim from Batangas, Philippines. Patsy, Philippines. We have from Hong Kong, Tong Yan Lam from Hong Kong. Manila, Vietnam, Ellie. We have registrations coming from different parts of the world, but mostly our attendees are coming from Asia. So welcome to HALT's Careers Lab with Catherine Boshkoff, our Vice President for Career Advancement and Alumni Relations. For today's session, which will last approximately 1 hour, you will learn about the latest trends in the international job market, the industries where our recent alumni have secured employment, and insightful advice on how you can maximize the career support on campus. As always, we have time for Q&A. So please write your questions in the Q&A box, not in the chat box, please, so it's easier for us to track the questions as they come in. So let's begin. Joining us live from San Francisco is Catherine Boshkoff, HALT's Vice President for Career Advancement and Alumni Relations. She's been with HALT for the past 11 years. And prior to HALT, she served as management consultant to emerging and early stage tech companies and education industries. She also served as adjunct professor for innovation and consulting at HALT International Business School. So without further ado, I now turn you over to Catherine.
Okay, welcome, welcome. It's so great to see so many of you here. It's fantastic. I'm speaking to you from San Francisco. It's Friday night, the end of our week, and you guys are starting your weekend. And so I so appreciate you guys coming out on a Saturday. We're going to quickly go through some slides, some trends, and there's time for Q&A. Eleanor, if you could be watching the Q&A, and if you see a question you want us to take during the slides, I'm happy to do it. So we're going to let you be the master of ceremonies and let us know what we need to answer. So why don't we go to the first slide from here? There we go. So I have two slides here of just a small number of people from your part of the world. I hope you see a fellow countryman or countrywoman on these slides. We have every year a large population of your part of the world coming to us, especially in San Francisco, since we're a bit closer. So I've had the privilege to work with a number of our Japanese students. We've had, thanks to our fantastic enrollment team, a large number of Japanese students working with us. And we now even work with Japanese recruiting firms to help those students. So hopefully you can see your country here. And if we go to the next slide, more to share. And of course, the employers that we're going to be talking about are really stellar. You can see Tesla, BNI, just really great brands. And I'm thrilled to be able to talk to you about those opportunities. If we go on to the next slide. Okay, so employment last year, 2022, stellar year, really fantastic job market and fantastic results for HALT. 95% of our MBAs were hired at 3 months, which is when we do the measurement. 94% of our master's students, so that would be the whole master's portfolio, 94% had employment, reported employment at 6 months. If you go to the next slide. In the US, we, again, stellar year. So for those students who could work in the US, so from San Francisco and Boston campuses, those are the students that get OPT, which allows you to work in the US after you graduate. 73% of our MBAs were working in the US and 72% of our masters. Now, I like to say that this is basically full employment because usually around 20% of the class is going to go home, 20–30%. They don't want to work in the US because they'll go back to family business or they are doing something in their home country. So 73 and 72%, we're super proud of that. It's a very high rate. And I'm thrilled. So then looking across the world, where are the big salaries? And you can see for our MBAs, kind of the split across the world. I will tell you in North America, if you asked me where can I make the most money as an MBA, I would tell you it's San Francisco. So last year our MBAs made on average $101,000. So that means some people made more. Some people might have made a little less. So it's first San Francisco, followed by Boston at 93K, followed by $1,000, followed by London at 83K, followed by Dubai at 80K. So when you think about, some people want to maximize their revenue, their dollars, when they get a job. And so you want to think about the geography that has the most demand for you. And that's one of the reasons that San Francisco is a great place to work and learn, because there's a lot of opportunity there. We go to the next slide. Our top employers are here for you to see. Amazon is actually our #1 employer. They hire in all of our campuses, and they will hire a number of students every year. In fact, the Amazon Pathways program, which is a leadership development program, they've already started their recruiting this year. So they've already been with us. They were with us like 2 weeks ago. So when you come to us, one thing to keep in mind is that these employers, they start recruiting in October. So some of the biggest, best brands, Google recruits in October, November. Amazon starts early. Bank of America starts in the fall. So we really want you to come and be ready to talk to our employers. And of course, we will help you do that. So we have programs during the summer to get you ready. My team is ready to work with you when you arrive. There's lots of things you can do before you even get to school that can get you ready to work with these fantastic employers. Now, just to give you the trends here, usually Amazon's at the top, or has been for the last 3 or 4 years. Then in the middle, the next layer is the consulting companies, and they switch order every year. Some years PwC's at the top, sometimes it's EY, sometimes it's Deloitte. So that would be like the next tier of high volume employers, followed by a mix of banks and tech. So banking, financial services, and technology are the 2 biggest segments for MBAs. And they're also big hirers of talent. So that's why you see Bank of America there. Amazon is actually a tech company. Apple is a tech company. Google, you see. So it's a great kind of cross section of who our top employers are. We go to the next slide. Where do our graduates work? So you can see a big chunk in the US. The folks in Europe probably went to school in London. And then we have a mix across Latin America, Middle East, Latin America, and Asia. But that North America number is, again, as I said before, the students who were in the US that wanted to work in the US are working in the US. And we now have several thousand students on OPT. We manage your OPT through the school. So we work with SEVAs for you. So we have several thousand people we're working with, and about, I think it's around 600 or 700 STEM, OPT STEMs. So that's the second STEM, that's the second OPT you get after you graduate if you have a STEM degree. So we're doing a lot of work in support of our students, and the visas department works hand in hand with my department. So we are partners in your employment in the US to make sure that everything goes right in the filing of your papers and the kind of job that you have, in the conversations with the US government. We have the same relationship in London, where the visa department in London is supportive of the students in London that want to stay for the 2-year graduate scheme, which is like the US flavor of OPT. London has graduate scheme, which gives you 2 years. US OPT gives you 3 years if you do STEM, 1 year if you don't do STEM. All right, let's do the next slide. Okay, my hometown. Got to push one more, Eleanor. This is like a fancy graphic slide. Okay, so what happened in the Bay Area? 80% of the students in San Francisco got their jobs in the Bay Area last year. And you can see there's hundreds of companies. The reason that students do so well is the demand is high in the region, and also they've got a great skill set against the employers. So we have in San Francisco and in Boston, we have the Masters of Business Analytics. In Boston, we have the MFin and the MIM. San Francisco has the MIB and the MBA, and Masters of MEI was a Masters of Entrepreneurship and Innovation, which is a good thing to have in Silicon Valley. So our students out west did very well also last year. Next slide. Okay, you might have met this gentleman before. Have we met Masato? Have you guys met him yet? Eleanor's smiling. I don't know if that means yes or no. So Masato was a student in 2017, 2018. He did 2 degrees with us. I met Masato on maybe his second day on campus. Masato is actually a very tall man, and I'm a very short woman. And Masato comes over to talk to me, and he's like, "You're the VP." And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I want you to know that I'm going to get a job in business analytics." And I'm like, okay. He was so focused, and his English was not that great, and he really worked on it, but he did a stellar job at Holt. He was determined. He did his MIB, then he did his MBAN. He did 2 internships when he was with us. He actually got his job through a contract agency. So he did a lot of things right, but one of the most important things he did is to start early. And I think we talk about it on the next slide, but one thing I want to mention here is that Masato not only had success after graduation, but he was sponsored, and he got his H-1B and is on track for green card if he doesn't have it already. So he has really achieved what he wanted to do in the United States. And I think it's a fantastic testament of what can happen for everybody. You go to the next slide. I think we have some tips on what he did. Yeah. Okay. So he found me on day 2, and he was pretty focused, and he asked me how I could help him get a job in business analytics. And if you come up and ask me how to get a job, I'm going to help you. So, he was very determined and very bold about his request. He worked super hard on his language skills. He did do 2 internships. So he did one in his first year after the MIB, he did it in the summer. And then because he did his first degree in the US, he was eligible to do a second internship in his second degree. So he had about 7 or 8 months of internship work on his resume that really strengthened his application. He knew that he wanted to be in tech, and he went through we call them contract agencies. So these are half the people in Silicon Valley work through a contract agency, a third party that handles the payroll and the benefits for the employer. And that's a really great way to get a job, because basically the agency is representing many, many, many employers, and they can represent you to those employers. And that was the way that Masato chose to go before he was converted to an employee at Apple. So eventually Apple bought out his contract from the contract agency, and he became a full-time employee on that side. I would also like to mention that things that help you are if you have expertise in something. And he had deep expertise in computational linguistics, and he impressed his employer. So that's a few tips on what it looks like when you're on track to do really well. If we can go to the next slide. Okay, so I have a global team. These are the people on the team. We will work with you in every campus, whether you go to Dubai or London, San Francisco, Boston, you do your rotation, you do the MBA, finance degree in New York. We have people everywhere. We work as one integrated global team so that if you move around the system, we can easily refer you to one of our colleagues. So if you go from San Francisco to London, I will refer you to my colleague in London. And that person will be working with you after we've done the basics in our campus. We'll have you go to market in London. So we have a great, great, great team. I want to highlight that a number of our talent, our staff come from recruiting agencies. So we hired someone with 18 years of experience in finance in London. He was placing financial talent in London. We hired someone who was representing or was doing university recruitment at BCG. So she was the one who worked with you guys to get into BCG. So she knows how that process works. We also hired a recruiter that did same type of recruiting for a bank. So she worked for the bank, working again with talent to bring talent into the bank. We have another recruiter from marketing who's now running our Dubai operation. And we have another recruiter from Fidelity. So we like to bring people in who know about jobs. We also have traditional career coaches and executive coaches, and all across the bottom, you see our expert executive coaches. But what we're trying to do is build a team that focuses on you and your job, not just you and your thoughts about your career, because we're not pretty driven. I am driven by that employment rate. And I want to make sure we have a high one every year and that everybody is successful in their job search. And for that, we have to be pragmatic. We have to be focused. We have to know how employers work. And we do. So I think we have a super strong team and they'll be working with you. Okay, so what do we do? When you come to Holt, there are a number of ways you can engage with us. The first one is we have a lot of digital tools and resources. You will actually start working with us next summer through our career platform, which I'll show you. And you will also get access to LinkedIn before you arrive. LinkedIn Learning has a lot of career content that can help you get your resume done. You can get up to speed. Also, LinkedIn is the #1 professional network in the world. There are 93 million people on it, and that's the place you need to be to get your job. So we want you to get on it early. And there's lots of ways you can learn about how to maximize your LinkedIn profile. But some of it is using some of the digital tools we have. We will do skills workshops with you. So that actually starts your first week. So you will come to Holt, we will enroll you, you will learn the landscape of the campus, and then you start doing careers. So you will have a class on careers when you first arrive, then you will have 5 more classes throughout that semester in a variety of areas like maximizing your resume, using ChatGPT for your job search, using LinkedIn to network, how to work with alumni. So there's a variety of topics we'll take you through, and they're skills-based workshops. Then you have your own coach. So one-on-one advisory, the people that I introduced you to on the previous slide, those are all of our coaches. And you will have your person, and your person will be the person you go to get support on everything. And they are assigned to you by me. They're dedicated to you. They have your success in mind, and they will be with you for the whole year. And then during the period after you graduate, we also offer career support. We will provide you with a different career advisor at that point because you're going to be really intense in the job search, and we have an expert in that. But you're going to have somebody throughout the journey. Networking. So we will also get you networking as soon as in your first month, basically. We bring alumni. We do a number of alumni mixers. So we'll bring in alumni from the region to meet you. We also have alumni panels where sometimes they happen all in a week, or sometimes they're spaced out across the month, but we'll bring in, say, 5 alumni in marketing, and you'll get a chance to talk to them. And we'll do a finance night where we bring all the talent that's doing interesting jobs in finance, and we might do fintech. We will do consulting. So we always do a consulting event. We're looking at social media because there's a lot of demand for that. So we might do a social media event. next year. We typically do something in nonprofit, social enterprise. Maybe we'll add sustainability to that, but it's really based on who works in the region and bringing them to campus to talk to you, to start your networking process. So you start working with alumni when you arrive in October. We'll have a mixer, then you have these panels, then alumni will be back throughout the year for a variety of other panels. So you have an opportunity on campus to meet them, but it's really important that you guys also get off campus, and because that's where the jobs are. There's some jobs on the campus, but the world out there is so much bigger than the campus, especially in these big cities like London and Boston and Silicon Valley. There's so much going on that you're cutting yourself short if you don't get off campus and experience this wonderful community where all these campuses live. So Eleanor, next slide. Okay, so what's different about Holt? I've been at Holt, this is my 12th year. I'm a job switcher, so I started out, I didn't start out in education. I was in tech and venture, and I got to this point where I was like, I need to do something in education and make education better and help people get jobs. I'm really interested in getting people launched into life where they can make an impact. So our group is really focused on your job outcome, not just advising. Many other schools, they want to talk to you and you're going to do a lot of explore. You can do that with us too, but it's a short accelerated program. And we want to make sure that we're getting enough of your energy on the job part of it so that you can be well on your way when you go into summer or when you graduate, if you don't do a dual degree. So we're focused on your advising. We have a strong internship focus. I started the internship program, I think in my 3rd year at Holt, because we realized that internships are key to your learning, getting skills on your resume. So you can do internships in your first and your second degree. We do hundreds of internships a year. Some of the internships are provided to you through our network. Some of them you can apply online. In fact, half the internships in the US last year were done remotely. So you can apply online, or you may find an internship through your network. So there are typically a lot of internships out there, and there are a lot of different ways to find them, and we'll help you do that. I mentioned before that the visas team is a real partner with my team. So we work together. We actually do your CPT application together. Both teams work together on this. For OPT, you're mostly working with the visas team, but my team will have gotten you into the right job focus so that OPT and the paperwork and that application goes really well. We're also connected with hundreds, thousands of alumni. There are alumni in density in all of our campus areas. And then we're experienced in supporting our students from your region get jobs. And I've personally been involved because we get a lot of your talent in my campus, which is San Francisco. So I'm hoping I get to meet you. I'm hoping I see you in San Francisco. Eleanor, next slide. Okay, STEM. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. It's a word that the US made up for this technical career path, and degrees in the US that qualify for STEM designation. In that category, there's a lot of advantages to them. One of them is that you get the 2-year OPT STEM extension, but more importantly, the skills in STEM are in really high demand. So these are all those jobs you see for a business analyst, a financial analyst, all of the coding jobs, all the social media analysts that are looking at analytics from all these platforms. There's a lot of demand for talent. And I think with digitization, it's only going to get more. So the analytic skills that you get in these programs are a great way to start, and they're a great way to build your career. It's a STEM, or these analytics are foundations for many jobs. And often when you start with a large company or a mid-sized company, you're going to start as an analyst. So it positions you well for that. Going up the ladder from an analytics job, these skills stand you in good stead. I can't think of a management role that doesn't involve working with data now. So either you used to be, back in the day, you didn't have to know so much, somebody else knew it, but now we all know analytics and we're all good at it and we're all working with data. So when you move up the career and you're in a more senior management role, you're going to have the skills to understand the business and to work with the data of your business. And then you will increase your ROI to employers. Employers in the US, when they see you can work for 3 years, in the UK, when they see that 2 years, they know that they can get a really good return on investment for the time and money it spends to recruit you. So I would definitely say 3 years is a much better, for an employer, it's much better for them. So it makes all the 3-year STEM people much more attractive. And if you're only a 1-year OPT person or a 1-year UK person, it just, you don't have as many options on the job. So you need to do a job that can be done well in a year. And that limits you to a more focused group of jobs, like it could be business development, could be some type of marketing project, but it needs to be done in a year. And with the 3 years, the employers have more latitude in working with you. And again, they know they can get a return on their recruiting dollar and really get to know you when they have 3 years to do it. Also, if you're interested in the US, you can go through the lottery 3 or 4 times. I don't know anybody that didn't get through in 4 times. In fact, I don't know anybody that, I know 3-time people. I don't know anybody that didn't get in on the 3rd time. So it's to your advantage to go through multiple times. This is a tool you'll get when you get to Holt. This is the job timeline. So some schools tell you about all the career stuff you're going to learn, and I'm going to tell you about what you need to do to get a job. So it's laid out very clearly so you can assess where you are and where you need to be. And so if you look, just skip ahead to brand, to that orange little icon and look up. That's in the October timeframe. You need to complete your resume, your LinkedIn, be on Handshake, which is a job board, and get off campus. So if you ask me, what does on track look like? That's what October looks like. You need to be doing that. If you're out there in April working on your resume, you're late. And it's okay to be late if you're not looking to get a job. But if you are looking to get a job, you want to have the advantage of time. And so you want to get those tasks done earlier in the year. And again, we have a lot of people ready to help you on this. You'll take classes, you can learn online if you want, you can get advisory sessions. So you're not on your own, but it is a really good thing to take advantage of all of our resources and get those things done in October. If you look ahead to, let's say, March, you should be doing internship and job applications at least by March if you want to be working in the summer. There'll be interview training. You should go to that. You should practice your interviews to make sure you're feeling really comfortable with the interview process. You know the types of questions that are going to come up for your job. You're feeling good about your English. You're feeling good about, the about me conversation that always comes up. And we'll work with you on that. So you don't need to be great at interviews over there in October, but by the time we're in the spring, that's the time to make sure you feel comfortable with that. There's many opportunities to practice. You can practice with us or alumni. You'll get off campus. You'll be doing informational interviewing. That's practice. We have technology you can use. It's called Big Interview, where you can record yourself. And so you don't have to talk to anybody. You just talk to the camera and you use that to get feedback on how you're doing. So you can go practice in private and get better working with Big Interview, a technology tool. So that's just an example of the timeline. Your enrollment advisor, if you want this timeline, they can give it to you so you can know how to lay out your plans. but we try to be super specific with you about what to do, when to do it, and be there to help you on the how to do it part of it. So I encourage you to take a look at this either before you come or when you come and figure out what your journey is going to be. And then we'll be there to help you. All right, let's go to the next slide. Oh, I have two examples to share with you. This student is a very shy young woman, and she didn't think her English was very good at all. Yusuko, she was not comfortable speaking English, and so I know some of you guys are not ready to interview in English, so I just want to say it's okay. She started her MBA in San Francisco in September. In October, per the plan I showed you, she was on track. She got her resume done. She did her LinkedIn. She did her job plan. And then it was time for her to start doing a bit of networking. And she said, I need to work on my English. So she didn't do the networking, but she did build her skills using an AI tool. In December, she decided not to do STEM. And before that, she was doing STEM. So by the time we get to January, she's a little bit behind because she focused on her English and she was delaying some things because she thought she'd do that extra degree. So here we are in January, and she's just getting started doing some networking. She goes to these visa workshops, and she's still not out there, and she's actually not making a whole bunch of progress. But she was very clever, and she's very, she let everybody know what she was looking for. And she got her internship via one of her classmates who also got an internship there. So now the two of them are working there. And so, you know, it's always good to network with everybody. And she let her classmates know what she was looking for, and she got an internship. She closed it in April. In June, she was back to work with us on how to get the most out of your internship. She did a great job for them. In July, she was back on the topic of how to manage your boss. I didn't have room to put it on the slide, but that was the second topic after how to get the most out of it was how to manage your boss. And the third one was how to negotiate salary. And so we went through that training with her, and she was very successful in converting her internship to this wonderful job in the US at Syscom Global. And we're not allowed to talk about money, but she did very well for herself, and we're super proud of her. So that's an example of somebody that wasn't quite on the timeline, but it still worked out. She found another way because she was able to find, through her community, she found someone who could help her get a job. And where she is, her English skills are perfectly fine for everything she needs to do, and she feels super comfortable. We go to the next one. June is somebody you'll probably meet at some point. She is such a amazing young woman. She came into the program with analytics, some analytics background, and she'd already published some books, and she published more when she was with us. She was extremely switched on and really motivated and focused. So she starts the MBAN in Boston. Again, in October, she's doing careers, resume, LinkedIn, job plan. But unlike our prior example, June met with Amazon in November. Remember I told you Amazon Pathways came in a couple of weeks ago. In this case, Amazon alumni panel started in November. She meets one of our top alums. His name is Umesh. You might meet him also. He has brought so many of our students into Amazon. And so she met him. They started to have a conversation. He was helping her network at Amazon. By December, she was in conversation with about 10 alumni from Holt, networking with them and building on that. In January, she came back and she did a lot of LinkedIn reach outs, like more than 100, probably about 150. And being a good marketing analyst, she was tracking her response rate. 30% is fantastic. So she was getting people to reply to her via LinkedIn, and she's still networking with them. By February, she's participating in employer spotlights that we had at school with all of these companies. She's going to info sessions, she's meeting them. She's getting a lot of traction in the market. And in March, she publishes her book in the US. So you can tell from this story, she is out there doing a lot of things to increase her profile, increase her velocity, meet more people. And in April, she goes to the AT&T info session. And by now, she's probably been to 15 or 20 info sessions. So she's pretty good at meeting employers, and she's probably met 50 alumni. She's talked to all of them. So she's feeling comfortable with introducing herself. And by June, she had an internship with that company. And by August, she had converted that internship into a job. So this is an example of a really dynamic student who was on the search from the beginning. So when I say what great looks like, Masato is in the great category. June is in the great category, where they're really out there working all of their career opportunities from the beginning. And yes, it is some work. It is some work. I'll acknowledge that, but we will help you. And although when you get to school, you're gonna say, wow, this is a lot. You will get it done. Thousands of people came before you, so you can do it. Absolutely, you can do it. And those people that do it achieve great things and are really satisfied with the jobs that they are able to acquire for themselves. So she's an example of a real, we would call it a rock star in the US. That's our lingo for people that are doing great. She did really well. Next slide. Okay, so the team asked me to give you a couple tips on how to get started. And the first thing is, you're coming to Hull, you'll be here in September. You have a lot of things to think about. But one of the things that you can start on is you can do some job research now. And the Holt.edu website is actually fantastic. So this is data on business analytics jobs and salaries. And I just cut and paste it from the website. There's some other tables like this for other job categories. Go check it out. You can really learn a lot with just what's on our website. But you can also research jobs of interest, go to Indeed or Glassdoor or LinkedIn, and start to pick up the jobs that you think would be fun or cool or stimulating. So if you're thinking, I want to be a financial analyst, go look at what financial analysts do and look at, for wherever region you're going to, who's hiring those people. And this is very accessible information on LinkedIn. And if you start now, you'll have figured out how to navigate these sites. By the time you get to us, you'll have a better sense of jobs that might be for you. You'll have a better sense of the salaries that you can expect. You'll have a better sense of the skills. And during the program, if you know the skills of a financial analyst, if you know what's required, you will also know what to focus on most in the program if your target job is to be a financial analyst. You can also, I should mention, and you probably heard this from your enrollment advisor, we have Coursera, which is an online learning platform. You can do additional courses on Coursera. You can also do additional courses on LinkedIn Learning to get certificates that up your profile for some of these jobs. So getting started and getting a vision of where you want to be is really helpful, so that you can narrow in when you get to school and start to focus on moving towards that job. And have I seen people change their minds? Absolutely. You can change your mind, but it's not so bad to put a stake in the ground and say, this is what I want to try to be, or this is what I'm going to go for, unless I find something that is better or more interesting. So think about that. You have some time, think about what might be interesting for you, what kind of salary you want, where you might want to live. If you want to be a business analyst, I encourage you to look at business analyst salaries, both here and on LinkedIn, and look at different parts of the world and how much those business analysts make, because it varies. And that might help you make decisions about where you want to be after you graduate. I know it seems like a long time from now that you'll be graduating, looking for a job, and it is. But it's also my job to help you understand the steps along the way and to give you tools to use while you're getting prepared for school. So that's one. You can do some research. If you go to the next slide. Before you get to school, you can do things. So after you confirm, do your resume, your first resume, learn how to use LinkedIn. Put up a LinkedIn profile. Doesn't have to be perfect, but get something going. Explore jobs and start your preparation on mycareer.edu, which is our website. And I think if we go to the next slide, there's a picture of it. Yeah. Okay, so this is a tool you'll have access to where this is like Uber website, and it integrates all of the learning tools and job tools in one platform. It also has all of the different campuses and the job boards for the campuses and the jobs for those campuses. So it's a really great resource. We built it ourselves for you guys. It's a really great resource to use to learn, but also to find jobs. So it has integrations to Handshake, which is a job board. And there's a job board for the US and one for EMEA, 2 different job boards, but you get to them through this. We have AI career tools. So I mentioned Big Interview. We also have an AI-driven resume product. But frankly, now you can put your resume in ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is going to give you advice too. So lots of different ways to practice on that. We have links to third-party content that's could be interview guides, it could be industry guides, things that we think would be helpful. All of the curriculum, all of our learning is there. Everything related to internships and visas you can find on this site. There's teaching videos, you book with your advisors through this site. Jobs and internships are posted there. All the hiring events show up through this site, and it's global. So it's like one-stop shop for everybody. And you'll get access to this, and I really encourage you to check it out and to use it to answer some of the questions that you have. And then if we go to the next slide, I believe this is my last one. Some of you are going to do STEM. Every time I talk to folks, somebody will ask me, what can I do to get started? And so I went down the hall and I talked to Professor Chase, my buddy, and I said, I'm talking to students on Friday night. What should I say? And he said, W3 Schools is the best website for free resources. So if you're a STEM person, check that out. And then he said his 2 favorite books are Analytic Leadership and Davenport Analytics. You'll probably be reading some of them in his class, but you can also look at them now. And he said he could find more if we needed, but he thought this was a really good start. So for all you STEMmy people, you have something to do to get you started on your journey and preparation for next fall. And with that, I think we have time to do questions. So Eleanor, over to you.
We have some questions in the Q&A box. Let me read it. He said that he is in the 41 to 43-year-old age range. I am from Japan, and I'd like to work in the US in a global capacity after graduation, tech companies, consultancy, etc. Could you share the actual result of successful employment rate for middle career, which companies to target, and can you share some tips to obtain more successful result?
Okay, that's a great question. So for the gentleman from Japan, one thing you can do right after this webinar is put in skills, put Japanese in LinkedIn and see how many jobs come up. And look at those jobs and see how many people applied for them. And what you will find is there are a number of jobs that are looking for bilingual people, and there are very few applicants for them. So one of the ways to get into a big company is to leverage all the skills that you already have and also be unique. And so a number of our Japanese students have gone down this path of leveraging their language skills in perhaps an American company or perhaps a Japanese company that has is working in the United States, either one. But your skills, just your Japanese skills, are really invaluable. So one of the things I would advise you, if I was working with you, I would say, think about targeting companies that are interested in the skills you have from your language. I would also say, why don't you go to the career fairs where where they're targeting Japanese speakers. So there's one in LA, and there'll probably be one in New York or Nevada or someplace like that. We would introduce you to our business partner, Persona, which is a recruiting firm that places our Japanese students either in US companies or back home. And I believe on the first slide, we showed a student that is at Persona, and I think he's working for Persona. So he's now, one of our students got a job working for Persona, working for you to help you find a job. So Persona is a firm that we've done a lot of work with this year, and that would be another thing I would recommend. So in your case, you're going to have a portfolio of really unique skills. I imagine you'll be doing the MBA. If you do the MBA STEM, all the better. Most of the MBAs now are STEM. You have to actually opt out of STEM now because we know that cluster of skills is so important. So that would be my advice to you. I don't have data on mid-career people versus other people. We don't track it that way. So I can take you as an individual and tell you what I think would work for you, what has worked for other people like you, but we don't have a group. We don't have a bunch of practices that we just do for mid-career people. We adjust to wherever you are and what your skills are and where you're going to have the most success in the market. I hope that helps.
Okay. And then our second question, he just wants to verify, how true is it that employers are requiring to submit GMAT scores in the recruitment process? Have you heard about this? Is it true?
I don't think so. Who told you that? I don't think so.
You probably heard it.
You don't even have to. Where was it?
He probably heard it somewhere online, saw it somewhere online, and wanted to validate.
Yeah, beware of what you read. Half of it's true and half of it isn't. So GMAT scores are not required for employment. GPAs are not required for employment. In the US, there's a lot of other information that they can't ask you. They can't ask you your age. If you happen to look like you're pregnant, they cannot bring it up. If you are a disabled person, you have a lot of rights. So there are a lot of protections for people to keep their privacy. So that's why I was like, I don't think GMAT scores, but I also know that GPAs are not allowed. So we just don't ask for that kind of information. And frankly, what you're more likely to experience is having some kind of assessment test that is done by the employer. So it's not uncommon for employers to ask you to do a critical thinking test or some kind of analysis in Excel, or the consulting companies will all have you do a case or two. So they'll use their own ways of assessing who you are and what you know. And for that reason, even if it was legal for them to ask your score, they probably wouldn't, because they're trying to figure out if you're a fit for them. And the score doesn't really tell them that. So assessment tests are some of the ways they can figure out if it's going to be a good match between you and them.
Okay, and then I'm going to read next a question from Po Cheng. Hello, I'm from Taiwan. Can you elaborate more about the networking? I'm also going to study MPhil this next September, and I have no idea what to do for work or what to do after graduation, what he wants to do. Can you give me some advice? Thank you, Po Cheng, for being honest. So
good for you. And you have plenty of time to figure it out. MPhil's a super powerful degree. It does empower you to do a number of things, and you can see these on our website. I believe we do list some of the jobs, so it will position you well. I think the number one job is a financial analyst. That's often a top job for MBAs, and especially MBA STEM. There's a bit of crossover in the kind of skills that you get in the MFin and the MBA STEM, and then the MBA, the financial MBA. All of those degrees are going to get you on the path to being some kind of quantitative thinker. So I would suggest that you maybe check out some jobs that would fall into that category, like financial analyst, supply chain analyst, market analyst, investment analyst, research analyst. These are all fantastic jobs to get a start into industry. And the MFin will tend to take you more to very sophisticated financial analysis, going to take you more into a lot of sophisticated analytical tools, where the MBA would take you more into sophisticated coding and data manipulation tools. So I would noodle around on the Holt website and see what the jobs are that you can see associated with the MFin. And then to your question about networking, there's going to be a finance panel wherever you go. We'll have a finance panel because we always have one. So it doesn't matter what campus you go to, there's going to be a finance panel. And that would be a great opportunity to go meet people in finance. And usually they did financial analysts. They may be doing something different now, but they could speak to that. And there will be also, typically there are clubs on campus where they might have a finance club, and the finance club will probably bring alumni in. Again, another great networking opportunity. Within the finance industry, off campus, there are many, many organizations and events that happen. So I'm not a finance person myself. I lean more towards strategy and marketing. So if I was a student, I would go off campus and find the American Marketing Association. There's something like that for finance, where you can go and you can network with people in the industry. And that's always a fantastic thing to do. It does take a little bit of courage the first time to get off campus and go to these events where they're big events. But you could take a buddy or take a career person with you and just go explore. And the world is your oyster. You're giving yourself this fantastic gift. So enjoy it. Get off campus, meet people. So we will, all joking aside, we will support you in the networking process. It is a skill that can be learned, and we will help you learn it.
And another question from Jason. I have 3 years work experience in PwC Indonesia. I would like to pursue a career as a management consultant, the big three. What is the probability of me getting a job in the US for working as a management consultant? Is it hard to get the OPT in the US?
Yeah, great question. It's a timely one. It's one that you should think about now, as if you're still, I don't know if you're still with PwC, but PwC, people that come in from PwC in another country can often leverage that to get a position with PwC in the US. There's another option that you can use at PwC either now or later, which is you can transfer in from PwC on an L1 visa, which is different than the OPT. That would be more appropriate for, a couple of years out after Holt. If you were working in your country, wanted to go back in, that's the way you could get in. The OPT is not hard to get. The OPT is something that we apply for you. The requirements for you to get OPT is your job must align closely with your degree. And as long as we can show that, and the careers and visa team work together on that, you will get your OPT. If you want to do OPT STEM, then you need to be able to demonstrate that your job is more than 50% related to your STEM degree. So if you did the MFin, you would want to show in your consulting practice that you're doing financial analysis. So OPT is not hard to get. It's just a visa that we do on your behalf. Getting the job is, to your point, is really the more challenging part of it. And if you're on a 3-year type of situation, it's much more likely As I mentioned before, a 1-year OPT is very hard for an employer because they really only have a year to get to know you and possibly get your H-1B. And in their world, that's a lot. That's a lot of work for them. And the odds, since they don't always get the visa on the H on the first time through, they like these 3-year options where they know they can go through a couple times. And everybody knows that if you go through 3 times, probabilities are very high. You're going to get your H-1B. So I think it's a really interesting question, and it might be worth talking to your friends at PwC about if there's any opportunity for you that they can make referrals for you. So that's something I see a lot, is people coming in from PwC going to PwC. However, I've worked with students just this year who were with PwC in their home country, and they're doing a commercial job in the US. They're not, I have to think about it. It's not coming to mind. I can't think of a case where it was PwC that went to Deloitte, for example. Maybe it happened. But I do know of a number of students who start out in consulting and then go on the commercial side in the US, which it can happen that you could get into consulting in the US, but the best way would be through all of the avenues you already have and leverage those connections. And I see students do that. So it's worth a conversation with PwC. And then we'll sort it out. If PwC in the US is not for you, we will work on the other consulting firms.
Okay, we have a lot of interesting questions coming in. Okay, Ridsa is asking, what are the main things and specific characteristics that the US recruiters are looking for, and how can I prepare for that?
Great question. So recruiters, US recruiter, great question. Let me back up. What we do at Holt is prepare you for that. So we have a very pragmatic, focused, skill-based program where we're building out your competencies in the top leadership competencies and the top analytic competencies. And so what employers are looking for are good communicators, good collaborators, people with critical thinking skills, people that can dynamically team, they can lead. And then they're looking for these quantitative skills, analytic skills, coding languages, different kinds of financial analysis. So in figuring out how to impress a recruiter, you kind of want to think about what's that job you want and make sure that you're highlighting that your target job in both your LinkedIn and your resume. And we always advise that you take the job that you want and kind of yellow highlight all the skills in the job that you want, and then match that against your resume and make sure that the job skills are on your resume. Or if you want to cheat, you can just put your resume in to ChatGPT and the job and ask ChatGPT if ChatGPT thinks you're a good fit for the job. Or I've seen people put the job in and say, write a resume, and you never would want to use a ChatGPT resume, never. It's terrible. But you could look at what ChatGPT came up with and compare it to yours. So it's all about this fit. You want to make sure you're a really good fit. And the recruiter is just a human face on that fit, that they're all doing the same thing. They're searching for those skills. And in fact, the reason I like you to be on LinkedIn and do LinkedIn courses is because every time you do a LinkedIn course, you get that skill on the back end of your LinkedIn. And so it automatically populates your LinkedIn. So you're building out this base of about 50 skills, and the recruiters actually search on those skills. So you want to make sure you have those skills. Oh, I'll just do a commercial here. Sorry, I saw this. You need this book. So this is the book we teach out of. When you take a course with us, you'll get the book. This is a great book on how to use LinkedIn to get a job. And it's going to say all the things that I just did about mapping the skills to your resume. So that's a really important thing to do. And there's a whole science, analytic science to skills mapping. So you want to make sure you've got the skills that are going to impress the interviewer and that you can interview. I'd say that's the other thing that's important. Can I share the name of the book? I'll send it to, yes. I'll send it to BJ, to your recruiting team. It's called LinkedIn, Conquer LinkedIn, Get Your Dream Job, Own Your Future by Jeremy Schiffling, who trains with us. He's a former LinkedIn person who works in the Valley, and he comes up and he trains in San Francisco and Boston. So this is the book, but I don't think it's coming through very well. So we'll send it to you. We'll send you the info on this. Just happened to be on my desk.
Okay, Catherine, we have a lot of questions, but unfortunately we ran out of time. So if anybody would like to discuss further, please feel free to write to us at info.asia@halt.edu. So that ends our Careers Lab. Thank you, Catherine, for joining us today. And for the audience, for participating. Yep.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you at Holt. Good luck with your applications.
Okay. Hope today's session gave you more information about your career transformation at Halt and the support that you will receive. So that's all from us today. Have a great weekend, everyone, and see you all again soon. Bye.